So, if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering, what is Zen? So the story of Zen starts with the story of the Buddha, and everyone knows about him. I'm sure you've probably seen a statue somewhere in your life. And the story begins with the man, Siddhartha Gautama, the one that we call the Buddha. And simply, he was a person, just like you and me. He wasn't a god or anyone, that unusual, really. But in the course of his life and his spiritual practice, he realized that human suffering has some certain seeds that it grows out of. And that if we understand where that suffering comes from, we can take actions to change how that suffering is affecting our lives. And that's really the root of all forms of Buddhism, is that we are trying to understand where does suffering come from in our lives. And we understand that source from understanding ourselves better, understanding our situations better, and then trying to use that knowledge to act in the right way, to make not only our own lives better, but also to improve the lives of others. So that is the ground of all forms of Buddhism. And Zen is just one branch from that. And in Zen, we focus very, very clearly on those 3 points. Who am I? Understanding myself clearly. What is this? What is this situation that I find myself in? And last, how can I use this knowledge of myself and my situation to make my actions better for my own life and for the lives of others? That is the real root of Zen. And to give you an example of what this process is like, I can tell you about a story from when I was living and leading a meditation group in Korea. When I was running an international Zen group at a really big, beautiful 500-year-old temple in Korea, there was one Sunday when we were having our practice. There was a big room full of people, and many of the people who came to our practice were very experienced. So they've been sitting meditation for 5 years, 10 years plus. But this one day, there was an older gentleman who came, and he didn't come that often. But this day, when we were in the middle of our first meditation period, all sitting very peacefully in our practice, we all suddenly hear this loud phone ringing. Ring, 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 ring. And the first time, everyone is very peaceful, very Buddhaic about it. Oh, this happens, it's okay. And then the phone ringing stopped. And then when we had our second period of meditation, the phone rang again. And after the second time, you could hear a little bit of some people saying, people were starting to get a little angry. And then in our third meditation time, the phone rang again for a third time. And at this point, even some experienced meditators were kind of audibly, easily to hear. They were scoffing, so dissatisfied with this situation. And if we step out of our feelings and we step out of the expectations we have about a meditation practice, if we just look at that situation very plainly, we have a group of people sitting together, supporting each other's meditation practice in this beautiful 500-year-old temple in Korea. As we're meditating, we're looking out onto the tops of the trees. It's really beautiful. And in that situation, a phone call makes everyone unhappy, right? It makes you question, how am I connecting with this moment in the wrong way if a phone can make me unhappy, if a phone ringing can make me unhappy? So for me in my practice, and since I was leading that meditation group, I really wanted to pull a lesson from that, because I could see that there was some issue with our practice. There was some aspect of seeing ourselves and our situation clearly That wasn't happening. And that's why people were upset in that moment. And as I sat and as I practiced with that experience, I realized that what was making us unhappy was not the cell phone ringing. It was we created an idea in our mind of what our meditation practice was supposed to be like. It was supposed to be quiet and peaceful, and the room had to have just the right kind of light, and all of these things that we're imagining it needs to be. But then when reality comes, and reality is different from that expectation that we created, we feel unhappy, we feel dissatisfied, and that suffering is created, not from something bad happening to us, but just because we created an expectation that didn't match reality, right? And this is exactly the kind of thinking, the kind of products of our mind that Zen wants us to try to be aware of. To be aware of when is my mind making an expectation that's causing me suffering? When is my mind making a prejudice or a judgment or some assumption that's causing me suffering? And when we understand these aspects of our own minds and we see their effects in our lives, it's much easier for us to see the best course of action to get out of that, to get out of that way of thinking, to get out of that way of acting that oftentimes is just reacting to feelings or maybe reacting to wrong ideas. And in the practice of Zen meditation, we're just quietly sitting in meditation, and then being aware of these things coming up in our mind. And through that awareness, just as I said with the cell phone story, through that awareness, we can process it and let it go. And as we process and let go of these things more and more, we become more at peace with this moment just as it is. We can sit in an average room having a meditation practice, and even if the phone rings, we can feel at peace, right? That's really the goal of practice, to be at peace and content with myself and with this moment, just as it is, just this, right? And I think it's important to say, it's not an easy path, and it's not always comfortable. Sometimes to practice well, we have to push ourselves to do our best, even when it's not easy, even when it's a little bit hard. And that regular process of practicing, even when it's a little bit challenging, it builds our discipline, it builds our endurance, and it allows us to do the right thing in our lives also, even when it's not easy. In Korean, there's a really great saying, "입에 쓴 약이 몸에 좋다." And that means medicine that's bitter to your mouth is very good for your body. And I think that is so true for practice and for life also. Sometimes accepting a little bit of bitterness can help us heal. And Zen is a very good example of a medicine that is a little bit bitter, but it's very, very good and very healing to our bodies. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about what this thing is that we call Zen. Thank you for watching my video, and if you liked this content and you're interested in more content from Just This Zen, you're welcome to subscribe below, and whenever new videos come up, they will go straight to you. And also, you're welcome to visit our website, justthiszen.com, or follow us on Twitter with justthiszen1 as our Twitter handle, or on Instagram at justthiszen. Thank you for watching.